إن شاء الله يخدم. 3, 2, 1. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. So I'm just going to jump straight into it because I know some people are going to be watching this in the replay. So I don't want them to just be waiting around for people to show up. I can see we got 5 people on the live stream. So just give me a 1 if you can hear me all right and you're here and you're ready to go. Just type 1 in the chat. Now let me kind of lay down some of the guidelines and how this is going to work. Okay, great, excellent. Show. Let me run down how it's going to work. This is not a live stream where I'm going to like lecture you. This is going to be an interactive thing where it's only going to be like maximum 45 minutes. And by the end of it, you need to have a solid plan. That's the goal. It's not the goal to, you know, put me in the background while you're doing something and just listen. No, it's not a lecture whatsoever. It's doing it together. Okay, it's very, very, very practical. And I'm actually going to, although I have my plan, preliminary kind of plan, I'm going to like solidify it with you. So it's like fully real life, yeah? So I'm seeing people giving their ones, so people can hear me fine, alhamdulillah. And what else did I want to say? Everybody who's just waiting for us to go, you need to get a paper and pen. Yeah, it really is better than like typing it on your phone or laptop or whatever. I would say get a pen and a piece of paper. You know, just scribble stuff down. And if you want to like solidify it and type it and stuff in black and white, then that's good as well. Up to you. So at the 3-minute mark, we'll begin, inshallah, and I'll just jump straight into the process. And just in case you're wondering, how does this work? Why am I doing this? For 6 years now, I've been doing this, and the 7th year, I just wanted to have a good Ramadan, and I thought, well, I guess if you don't have a plan, of course you're going to fail, right? And so I decided to create a plan, and I used what I learned from just reading and stuff in terms of goal setting, and I applied that to Ramadan. So I was like, okay, you got to be specific, you got to do this, you got to do that, and that's what kind of has created this process that we have now. So that's why it's going to work for you. And also remember that this is only 50% is the process. Only 50% of your success with your Ramadan plan is going to be the process. The other 50% is the fact that you're here live doing it, and you're going to actually leave the call with a plan. Because most people, they will want to do a plan. You know, the millions of other people who are not on this live stream with us now, they want to do a plan. They just never get around to it. There's like this procrastination because they're not sure exactly how they're going to do it, so they just don't do it. But here, within 30 minutes, inshallah, maximum 45, we're going to leave with a plan. That's 50% of success. The other 50% is the process that I've been talking about. Okay, so we've hit the 3-minute mark. We've got a few people here. We've got the ones coming in, which means people are ready and they can hear me and everything. So let's begin. Bismillah. So the first thing that we want to do is the number one thing for this process is specificity, is to be very specific with everything. And the other thing I would say is be realistic. And I don't mean realistic like tone down your expectations, tone down your aspirations. I mean, set goals that you will 100% hit. You want to hit your goals. You want to feel momentum. You don't want to be burning out at the end of Ramadan. You want to be very stable. And then what you want to do ultimately is after Ramadan, you want to be continuing at least a good amount of your ibadah now in Ramadan. You want to be continuing maybe a downgraded version of that for the rest of the year. Okay, so for example, you're reading 1 juz a day, 20 pages of Quran every single day. If you're planning on doing that in Ramadan, then you're doing that in Ramadan with the intention that after Ramadan, you're going to be doing 5 pages a day. But you're going to do that for the whole year until next Ramadan. That is my way of viewing Ramadan. That is kind of a training ground where you go hard, you set the levels, you see what you can do, and then after Ramadan, you're in motion, you downgrade a little bit in order to get the consistency so you can continue doing it forever, inshallah. But you're still doing stuff, right? Still doing that ibadah, okay? So the first thing that I want you to do, of course, everybody's gone and got their pen and paper. Like I said at the beginning, very important. You got your pen and paper. And the first thing that I want you to note down is the time frames when you can do your ibadah. Because we're creating our Ramadan plan and we got to know, okay, before we make a list of 20 different things we want to do, what are the options available to us? When can we slot it in? Because I want to make this plan very realistic for people who are very busy even, and people who feel like, you know what, I'm going to fast. Maybe I'll do Taraweeh and I'll like listen to Quran. Those kind of people who feel they don't have the time, I want to make it very good for them, very practical for them. So write down, this is the first exercise of this workshop, if you like. The first thing you got to do is write down what time periods do I have. So for example, for me, I've written it like this. Taraweeh, from the end of Taraweeh until 11 p.m. That is one slot. Okay, that's a slot for me. That's a slot of about 2 hours. Okay. The other thing I've written is Asr to Maghrib. Now, what you might not want to do it like I've done, like Asr to Maghrib, because my schedule can be very linked to the times of Salah. But I know a lot of people, their timings will be based on time. Like I finish work at 5 and therefore I arrive home at 6. And so my window is 6 to 7, for example. So it's fine to use timings. I just use the time of Salah, okay? So make bullet points of this time to this time, I'm able to fit something in there. And like literally, we got to be realistic here. Yeah, don't like say, oh, I'm going to be very tired after work. I'm commuting back home. I usually fall asleep, but no, that's a 30-minute window. No, let's be real, right? That could be a bonus time to squeeze something in, but let's be real, right? So write down, you know, for me, for example, I've got 3 slots where I can fit stuff in. Okay, 3 slots in my day. Okay, so just get on with that and give me some examples in the chat so I can just make sure you're on the right track. Yeah, because remember, I can't see what you're doing. You can only see what I'm doing. So I need kind of feedback, and I need to know how it's going, if it's clear. And this is very simple. Just note down the times you have available to do your ibadah that you want to accomplish in Ramadan. We've got, what do we have now? We got, is it 21 days left, 22 days left? In these days, when we're going to maximize our ibadah, when will we be doing that ibadah? And then based on that, you can see, I'm just talking now while you do it, yeah? Then based on the timings, you can see, okay, I can fit in four types of ibadah. Later, when we start thinking about what we're going to do, we're going to be able to see, okay, what fits into the times. Because again, it's all about being realistic. Okay, Iman says after Isha, after Fajr, after Asr. Okay, but I need you to put a cap on that. So after Isha, until when? Until what time? Like for me, for example, I put from Isha until 11 p.m. because I want to go to sleep at 11 p.m. So I put the cap there. So you do the same, yeah? Put from this time to this time, yeah? Same after Fajr. Fajr till when? Are you going to sleep after Fajr? Are you going to go to work after Fajr? What are you going to do? Put a cap after that. Okay, I'm waiting for your other examples to come in. So we got a few people here live, so I'm expecting to see examples from more of you. Okay, Sana says after Maghrib till 8 or 9. Okay, be more specific. What is the more realistic out of that? Let's say 8, right? I don't know exactly when Maghrib is where you are, but let's say till 8, for example, to be realistic. And then if you got that extra hour, have that as a bonus. But what we want to do is our minimum ibadah we can do every single day without a doubt, inshallah. Yeah, that's what we want to do. So after work, so 4 to 6 p.m. Perfect. After Taraweeh until 11 p.m. Perfect. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Fajr until 6 a.m. There we go. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. 10:30 till 11. Is that a.m. I'm guessing, or p.m.? Until 1600. Okay, so 4 p.m. Perfect. 1:30 to 2. Yeah. Okay. Now, what I want, message retracted. I see you, Muhammad. I see you. Okay. Now, one little thing to add to the bullet points here is what I've done, which is I want you to just put in brackets next to it. How much time is that? So for me, from Taraweeh until 11 p.m., that's 2 hours. So I put 2 hours there in brackets. Asr till Maghrib, that's 3 hours. Okay. Fajr till 8 a.m. For me, that's 3 hours again. Okay. That's 3 hours. So you just want to have an idea and have it written there, an idea of how much time do I have for my ibadah? Do I have 30 minutes? Do I have 1 hour? And again, don't worry about me saying I've got 2 hours and 3 hours. If you've only realistically got an hour here and half an hour there, so be it. So be it. We got to deal with what Allah's given us. Okay, in 1 minute, we will move on to the next part of the workshop. So just be sure, 2 things you need solid now. When you're available for ibadah, okay, from this time to that time. And the second thing, put in brackets next to it how much time that is. Is it 1 hour? Is it half an hour? Etc. Okay, so about 30 seconds and we'll just move on. If you don't work, Yani, you have a luxury of having a wide open schedule. So in that case, if you got a very wide open schedule, or you're not even a student, or you're on holiday or whatever, then what I would say is be realistic. You're not going to do ibadah for 12 hours a day. So therefore say, okay, I've got this 1 hour slot and this 1 hour slot and this 1 hour. Give yourself, I would say, 4 1 hour slots for now. Okay. And I would say one of those should be after Fajr, one of those maybe after Taraweeh, and then the others, I would say, up to you, okay? That's if you don't work, you don't have uni, you don't have these kind of fixed things. I'm really and truly, that's kind of my situation. I work based on whatever hours that works for me. So I am quite flexible. So I do, after Taraweeh till I sleep, I do from Fajr, just from Fajr for 1 hour, and then I do some work then. And then I've got some time between Asr and Maghrib, okay? So we're going to move on now, inshallah. So you've got your time when you're available to do your ibadah. Now we move on to, look, you see how simple this is, but most people will never sit down and actually do it, okay? That's why I said it's half of it is the process that we're going through, and half of it is just simply doing it, okay? So we've been going for 12 minutes. In another, 18 minutes, we should have a solid plan. Crazy how easy it is, right? So we're moving on to the next part, which is what ibadah do I want to do? Now, before we go into, okay, what can I do, this and that, I think we should just brainstorm first, okay? So again, on your paper, just start writing down ideas. And I'm going to give you plenty of ideas as we go. So solid thing that we need to do, everybody needs to put as their first bullet point of the type of ibadah they want to do in Ramadan is something to do with Quran. What can we do with Quran? Okay, we've got first, reading Quran, yeah? The first is reading Quran. The second is reading a translation of the Quran if you don't understand Arabic. The third thing is memorizing Quran. The fourth idea is reading tafsir of Quran. Obviously, is in a language you understand. Reading tafsir of Quran. And the other thing could be purely listening to Quran, although I would say that's more of a passive thing. So I wouldn't put it as a kind of a goal for me to do per se. I would put it as more of a like bonus thing, like when I'm driving to work or something like that, play it, okay? So that's just Quran. I was giving you 4 or 5 ideas for Quran. Another thing you could do is charity. How much charity will I give? What will I give every day? Okay, giving some kind of charity on a daily basis or weekly basis. Another idea would be helping out in the kitchen, okay? Another thing would be helping your dad, your parents with something specific that they need to do during the day. Another thing would be making dua, a specific time set aside just to make dua, okay? That would be another idea. Another thing could be following some kind of series, learning, gaining Islamic knowledge that will benefit you in the year to come. Okay, could be fiqh, could be finally I'm going to learn my fiqh of tahara, how to purify myself, how to do wudu properly, how to do salah properly. It could be I'm going to learn how to do tajweed, how to read the Quran properly. Okay, I'm just saying these ideas and you're going to be brainstorming with me now, yeah? So you need to be writing bullet points down, not your final list, just your bullet points of what is important, obviously, Islamically, what's important to do, but also what are you inclined to do? What do you feel? Yeah, I could do that for 18 more days, that as well. So list these down. I'm just giving you ideas right now. Another thing, let me see what I've got, other ideas that I wrote down. So we could do extra prayers. So we've got Taraweeh after Isha. Most of the men will go to that. Some of the women will go to that. But then you've also got at home. Maybe you're not going to go Taraweeh, but you could pray at home. How much are you going to pray? We'll get to the details of how much you're going to pray in a bit. But yeah, we could do extra praying at night. or even sunnah prayers after dhuhr, etc. Okay, what else have we got? Revising something you learned. Maybe you last Ramadan you studied something, you've forgotten it all. Revise that. That could be something, revising certain kind of Islamic knowledge. Okay, what else have we got? Yeah, I would say those are the main ones that I've mentioned. Anything that I haven't covered, please drop it in the comments now. Let's just give 30 seconds for people to share more ideas that I haven't covered, that I haven't thought of. So just 30 seconds for that. You got to be a bit quick, and I'll share those ideas, inshallah. Okay, so we've got dhikr, yes, setting aside specific time to do dhikr, to do istighfar, yeah, kabbirillah, etc. Learning Arabic, yes, so following some kind of course or going to a teacher, going to a lesson. Yes, learning Arabic is a good one. Learning Quranic Arabic, again, yes, that's a good one. 2 people have said learning Arabic. But even at this point, be more specific. So is it going to a class in your local area? Is it going to, online with a tutor? Or is it just following some kind of series? Okay, so in 5 seconds, we'll just move on, inshallah. Okay, so we're moving on now. So you've got your long, yes, da'wah. Da'wah is a good thing. If you've got some kind of way you can do da'wah, like going out to the street, even set time aside to give your neighbors food. That's da'wah, and that's obviously sadaqah as well. Very good. Yes, so we're moving on, and now we're saying, look, out of your list, you're looking at your list of potential ideas of ibadah, and you're looking at the time slots. Okay, now you need to say, okay, what am I inclined to do? What is important to do? And what can fit consistently, what can fit into those timings. And so, for example, I'll give you something, a very important part of slotting these ideas into the time slots is Fajr. For me, what I find, and this is something maybe important for you and useful for you, is I find after Fajr, that's one of my highest energy times because I've just eaten at that time. I've just eaten. I would have slept a bit as well, and I've just eaten, and I actually have coffee at that time as well. To be honest, coffee doesn't really affect me that much, but it might, add something. I've got energy in me, okay? So that is a time when I could do something which requires energy, requires my head working. And that's when I read my Quran. And, reading, especially reading a little bit aloud, it can take the energy out of you. So that is a good time to slot in that. Whereas something like listening to a lecture, listening to a series, revising something you've studied, really and truly, that's not something that requires so much energy. Okay, so look at your slots and look at your timings. Okay, so I've got 1 hour here. What can I do here, which is very good in Islam, is going to get me a lot of ajr. I'm inclined to do it. I feel I can do it for 18 days, every day, non-stop, and then slot that in, right? So start slotting that in. Okay, and if I'm here with you. If you have any questions, okay, do you think this should be done at that time? Do you think that would work this way? Okay, and you're going to want to think as well about time limits. So you're going to read Quran. You're going to read 1 juz. Let's say it takes you 30 minutes to read 1 juz. So you're going to need to think of that and slot that into a time slot where you've got 30 minutes free. Yeah. So I'm just here. We'll hang around this part because I'm going to give you a good 5 to 7 minutes to really slot these things in, narrow down your ibadah. I would say everyone must have at least one thing connected to the Quran, one ibadah they're committing to in Ramadan, which is to do with the Quran. Reading the Quran in Arabic, reading the translation, especially those two, I would say, especially those two. So, but I've just given you an easy one, that you need to find a slot for Quran. Yeah, that's the minimum. That's the minimum. So I'm here for questions. The key thing here is to be realistic. I'm just talking while you're doing it. Yeah, I'm just helping you out as you go through your slotting your ibadah, shortlisting your ibadah. Yeah. So you got to be realistic. You got to think, okay, for example, I'll give you a real life example. When it comes to memorizing the Quran, I consider myself weak at it. I consider myself that I know how to do it, so that's not a barrier, but I just find myself forgetting a lot. I'm not necessarily in the habit of doing it. And so if I'm going to tell myself, you've got a 1 hour slot there, Ramadan is the month of Quran, memorizing Quran is great, let me just throw an hour of memorizing Quran there. That's not realistic. Really, when I think about it deeply and I'm honest with myself, and I prioritize consistency, I would say, no, I'm not going to give myself 1 hour of memorization to do every single day. It's not really realistic. So, Iman, in terms of your question, I think we will deal with that like more towards the end, like general questions. For now, if you've got questions around how to slot or how to shortlist ibadat, that would be the time to ask now. You're saying how to combine learning for exams and doing extra ibadah. So that's where your time slots come in. So you're going to have a time when you're revising. Let's say you're revising from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. hatta, yeah, 3 hours. Now between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m., is that a slot? Well, then that's your slot to do your ibadah. You know, you've got to know, okay, I wake up this time, I go to sleep this time, and my revision time is this time. I'm not telling you to compromise on revising for your exams. You need to have your slot there for exams, and then you're going to have your slots for ibadah. And then whatever slots you have, that's where you're going to fit in your ibadah, okay? Iftar preparation comes in the way of my Asr Maghrib slot. Yes, so that's why we have to, when we have our slots, we need to like think of our realistic lifestyle. So in that case, I would say iftar preparation. Yeah, I mean, in that case, it's not really a slot. That's no longer a slot. If you're going to cook every day at that time and you can't do it another time, or that is the best time to do it, then I would say I would just not consider that a slot. You know, what are your other slots that are available? Sorry, I'm going to cough 1 second. Wow, my eyes are red. Okay. Should we give ourselves a ballpark of how much we want to get done in that slot, or do we just set a time slot? Yes, I mean, yes, you should. You should be very specific, and that's what we're going to do next. We're going to get very specific. So, yes, I mean, you give yourself ballpark if you don't know, but I know, for example, from fasting for many Ramadans and reading Quran many Ramadans, I know it takes me like 40 minutes to read 1 juz or something like that. So that's my ballpark. I mean, it's pretty accurate. But for now, you need to go with the ballpark if you don't know. But something like, I'll give you another example, because reading pages of Quran, yeah, you're not going to be 100% sure how long it's going to take. But something like, one of my things is reading tafsir. I'm going to limit myself to reading half an hour of tafsir. So I'm actually going to put a timer and I'm going to read half an hour of tafsir. So that's not ballpark. Now that's very precise, and it's going to be at X time. Okay. So I hope that helps you. We got a good turnout, alhamdulillah. Okay, very good. So yes, just to repeat the process, what we're doing. We've got the times when we're available. We truly are available, yeah? We're truly available for doing our ibadah, whether that's 1 hour a day, whether it's 4 hours a day, okay? We've got our times. We've got the list of ibadat we would like to do, okay? We might have 10 types of ibadah we would like to do. Now, I don't think any of us have time to do those 10. So now we are shortlisting. We're saying firstly, out of these, what is most important? What am I consistently, realistically going to do? And then we say, okay, that goes well in the morning, because the morning I'm going to do something very intense. The most intense thing on my brain, I'm going to do that in the morning because I just had suhoor. Okay, this one is pretty light. Okay, I'm just going to listen to a lecture or a series. So therefore, I'm going to put that just before Maghrib. You understand? So this is what we're doing right now. And, you know, if I'm not getting any more questions, then I'm going to assume you're okay. You don't have questions. You know, we got a few questions coming in, but I'm just going to have to assume that everyone's okay. If you're finished, if you're now shortlisted and you've put your ibadat in your slot, give me a number 2. Just type a number 2 in the chat. So I know for sure that you're actually finished. Or if you still need time. So type number 2 if you're done and you're ready. Okay, so Sarah's put number 2, so she's ready to go. So either you're done, or you got questions, or you need more time. Okay, so we got more 2s coming in. Okay, good. Everyone seems good. Not everyone, but a good amount of people. Okay, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So I'll give it 30 more seconds. We're just going to move on. And don't worry if you're not finished yet, because the next step is actually polishing what we're doing right now. Okay, we're polishing it. So we're not really moving on too much. So you won't fall behind, inshallah. Okay, 15 seconds. Okay, thanks, Ali. 15 seconds. Okay, so now moving on. So now what you should have, just so you get a good idea, what you should have is, you should have, at this time slot, I'm doing this ibadah. At this time slot, I'm doing this ibadah. You should have a list like that, right? I'm assuming everyone's done that. I think I've been pretty clear using my teacher skills from back in the day, yeah? So the next step is actually just to polish, okay? How do we polish? I'm going to give you a framework, which it comes from goal setting, right? Goal setting theory or whatever, that really works. And you're going to help, you're going to use it to filter your goals through it, okay? And you'll understand what I mean when I go through it. So you want to have POWR Ramadan goals, POWR, POWER. What does that mean? I'm going to go through each letter, and you need to filter your goals through this, okay? So ask yourself first, P, is the goal positive? What do I mean by positive? Are you saying something in the positive, like I will do X, Y, Z? Or are you saying I'm going to avoid eating deep fried food? We don't want anything that's negative. I will not do X, Y, Z. You want to say I will do. So for example, instead of I will avoid deep fried food, say I will eat healthy food. I will eat food with little oil content or something like that. Yeah, even you can say I will eat no fried foods. Yeah, so make sure it's all positive. This is just kind of a grammatical thing, but it is important because it gets you thinking about what you're going to do instead of what you're not going to do. Okay, so it's the first filter to pass your goals through. Is it positive? Are you stating it in the positive? Next thing is P-O. So O is, was everyone caught up first? So we got quite a few twos, so that's good. Okay, good. So we're going to move on to the W, actually, because the O, for us, we don't need, we're going to move quickly. The W is what exactly. Now, this is the most important part of this framework, of the POWR framework, is what exactly. So when I say read Quran, that is not a goal. That's not a POWR goal. The W is missing. You need to say, I will read 20 pages. Okay? You need to be specific on your goal. I will read tafsir. Which book tafsir, and for how long will you read it? And of course, the time. Okay. So what, and this is what we're going to spend the most time on out of all these POWER. Okay. W, what? What exactly will you be doing? I will make dua. Okay. How long will you make dua for? Or do you have a specific list of dua, and that when you've read that list, now you're done? What exactly is the ibadah you're going to do? I will pray extra. What will you pray extra? Will you pray 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha? What will you do exactly? What is your ibadah specifically? The W is for what exactly. Of course, any question you've got, just roll them through, yeah? Roll them through as I'm going. That's the W. This is the most important thing. This is the thing. I'll tell you why it's so important, yeah? If you say between Asr and Maghrib, I will read an Islamic book. Tomorrow at Asr time, you might be feeling a bit drowsy, and then you're like, okay, yeah, I set that goal yesterday. Yes, we did this great workshop, but what book am I going to read, and how long am I going to read? That's a lot of work, and then you're going to leave it. Okay, trust me, this happens. We all actually overestimate our ability to do, but we want to do the planning now, so we don't do planning later. Forget planning later. We do planning once in Ramadan, only once, and then everything is kind of autopilot in a sense, where it's like, okay, I'm going to read this book for this long. You're done. You're ready. Even to the level you could say where you're going to read the book. Okay, so what in the POWR goal setting framework? W is what exactly? We're just hitting the 30-minute mark. I don't expect longer than 10 minutes left, inshallah. So that's the W in POWR goal setting framework, W. Now, E is evidence. What does that mean? Evidence means that you know what success is. You know what success is. So I'll go back to my example of reading a tafsir book. My evidence that I finished my goal is complete for the day, is that my timer has started ringing because 30 minutes is up. That's evidence. Okay, so you need to be specific, but you need to know when I'm done. You need to know when I am done. Okay, so make sure none of your goals are vague, and make sure none of your goals don't have some kind of end goal, like how do I know I finished it? Okay, so we're just filtering the goals you've written down. We're filtering it through the framework. Okay, so E is for evidence-based. Yeah, I know. I just skipped O because really and truly, we're just going quickly and we don't need it for this. Like, I'm taking the framework from like the long-term goal kind of method, and I'm just like narrowing it down for us for the most important thing. We're not on R yet. We're on E still. So W, oh, E, what, sorry, I mean E. So, I'll give you an example. What's the difference between W and E? So W would be, I'm reading this specific tafsir book at this time, in this place. And the E is like, I know I finished it when my 30-minute timer has run out. And this is just, it's just like a kind of a double check to make sure that you know when you're done. And there's a clear kind of cutoff point, if you like. So you don't need to write down, how do I know I finished? It just needs to be factored in the wording of your goal, if you understand what I mean there. Okay, so that's E. Okay, E is what's the evidence? What's the evidence for it? And then we'll just move on finally to R in the POWR goal setting. R is time related, or you could say restricted. When are we going to do this? What is the time limit for it? So, for example, you might have said, and again, why is this in here? Because you might say between 5 and 7 p.m., I've got a 2-hour slot. And now I've put reading tafsir in the 2-hour slot. Are you going to read for 2 hours? No. You're going to read for half an hour. You're going to read for 1 hour. You're going to read for 15 minutes. So you just need to make sure that that is there. Okay. And now we combine all of these so that we can mention our goal in the following format. I'm going to type it in the chat. Hopefully everyone's going to see it. So it's going to be like this. I do this at this time for this long. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that in the chat. So all of your goals that you've got in bullet points, you've put them through the POWR framework filter. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad. Don't worry, we're actually we're at the cream of the crop part. So inshallah, you can kind of jump on board. Yeah. So the format that we're going to, this is the final stage, yeah? The format we're going to use to make sure our goals are solid, and we're going to use everything we've been doing over the last 35 minutes. We're going to write our final goals now. This is the final version of our goals, no more tweaking required, in that following format. So I'll give you a real example based on what you can see there in the chat. So okay, then you put what you're doing. So I read Quran from cover to cover, you could say. I read Quran from cover to cover after Fajr, so at the time, okay? You could say at 4 to 6 p.m. or whatever, but I've put after Fajr. For how long or for how many pages? So I wrote 420 pages, okay? So now you've got the, you could say the draft goals, you've written that on your paper, and now you're putting the finalized versions, the polished, squeaky clean versions of your goals that are going to be so specific, you're going to know exactly what you're doing. So again, I'll repeat the format so you can put your goals in this format. I, and then do X, okay, whatever it is you're going to do. At, put the time. For, and then what is the duration or the amount you're going to do. If somebody gives me an example of a goal, I'll go through it with them. I'm just waiting for you to drop your goal and we'll put it in that format. Or if you've already put it in the format, just put it in and I'll check it with you. And this is the final polishing kind of exercise. Okay, I'm guessing everyone's just writing, so they haven't got one for me yet. Once you think you're ready with one, just drop it in the chat. Or if you need help with one, drop it in the chat. But I would recommend you drop them in the chat regardless, actually, because a lot of the time people don't get the specifics right. Like it's not specific enough and they're going to get tripped up tomorrow when they try and implement it. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So yeah, drop an example of one of your goals in the chat. So we have one example coming. We got two now. I will read Quran. So that's what you're doing at 11. Is that 11 p.m. or 11 a.m.? At 11 for 1 hour. Okay, so that means because you've written 1 hour, it means that you're going to put a timer for 1 hour. If it's 20 pages, then it's 20 pages. So you got to, if you say 1 hour, you got to commit that you're going to actually do it that way. I will read another. This is another goal. I will read the Quran. Sorry, where am I? I will read the Quran after Taraweeh for 1 juz. That's good. Yes, can't fault that. I'm assuming you mean cover to cover, right? So just you need to get clear on that with yourself. Another one, I will memorize Quran at 6 a.m. for half an hour. So there's something missing there. I would say that I will memorize Quran part. What's going to happen tomorrow is you're going to sit down to memorize and then you're going to have to work out what will I memorize. That I know I found myself in that situation. I'm like, okay, I'm going to memorize. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of what exactly will I memorize. So will it be a surah? And also I would include how many ayat, because I guess you could do by half an hour. That's fine. Yeah. But what will you memorize? Yeah, that's the advice I would give for that one. Then we've got, I will read tafsir at 11 p.m. for 30 minutes. Okay, what's missing from there is the tafsir that you will read. Which tafsir book will you read? A, and B, what surah are you going to read? You're going to read the whole tafsir of the whole Quran? I mean, that might be too much for half an hour. You won't cover it. So what surah have you picked? What surah have you picked to go through? So just while I'm getting more people, so if I've kind of given you a little correction, just again drop it in the chat, and we'll just make sure it's fine. Another one, I will read the Quran 5 to 6 pages for 15 to 20 minutes. So okay, this is good. So I will read the Quran. So what you're doing is solid, but then the next part is when, and your when is missing. And for is there 15 to 20 minutes. So let's say 15 minutes, and then the 5 minutes extra, that's extra barakah from you. Yeah, extra, like in was it Surah Taha? If you do 10 years, yallah, extra. So the thing missing in your goal is when you will do it. You need to say when you're going to read those 5 to 6 pages of Quran. Okay, I will memorize Surah Al-Kahf, half a page at Fajr, half a page. You mean half a page per day for 30 minutes. So what I would recommend for your memorization goal is you pick a time or an amount of ayat. So say I will memorize Surah Al-Kahf half an hour at Fajr, or at Fajr for half an hour. Or I will memorize Surah Al-Kahf at Fajr for half a page. You get it? Don't put time and duration because they're going to clash. You got to pick which one am I committing to do it. Next we've got I will revise my memorized surah at 10 p.m. for 1 hour. Okay, if that's realistic to do 1 hour and you're used to it, that's very good. And it seems solid. So I will revise that surah that you've specified at 10 p.m. for 1 hour. That's solid. Although as women we have less time to finish Quran, so I will add to that. This is an important thing to remember. Because I was ill, I missed out on reading my Quran every day. So now I can't just read, for example, 10 pages, 30 pages a day. I must read extra to make up for it if I want to finish the Quran. Okay? I'll read Quran for a quarter of a juz, hence finishing the Quran, inshallah. Okay. I will read tafsir of Ibn Kathir of the first 2 surahs after Isha for 1 hour. That's solid. That's solid. You know what book I hope you've got the book though, yeah? You gotta have the book ready, or you gotta get the website ready that you can read it. I will read tafsir of Ibn Kathir, the first 2 surahs. So do you mean Fatiha and Baqarah, yeah? After Isha for 1 hour, solid. I mean, 1 hour, it's kind of long, but you know, it's fine if you're used to it, if you really think you can commit to it. Okay, I will make dua at 7:30 p.m. for 30 minutes. That is solid. 30 minutes of dua, mashallah. That's what they do in the masjid on the 27th of Ramadan. They do that. You're going to do it every day. So that's good if you can do it. As long as that's realistic for you, because more important than doing a lot is doing consistent. I promise you, that is more important. Okay? The only thing missing from your goal is what dua are you going to make? Are you going to freestyle? Freestyling, I guess it can work. But it'd be good to have certain things that you've got written, or you know, stuff that your go-to things. Yeah. Next we've got I will memorize something from Az-Zumar at Fajr for 45 minutes. Okay, so I will memorize Surah Az-Zumar at Fajr for 45 minutes. Okay, so that means you're choosing to go by time and not by the number of ayat. Okay, another one, I will read Tafsir Ibn Kathir for what I memorized for the next 45 minutes. Okay, when will you do that though? You mean for the 45 minutes after you've memorized? Okay, I would just be a bit more specific, even though I know it's connected to the previous goal, but I would still write it down that I will read Tafsir of Surah Az-Zumar from Ibn Kathir for 45 minutes. At what time? You say after memorization, yeah? So write it all out properly, yeah? I will read 2 juz every day for 40 minutes to an hour. See, again, you've got the clash between, your clash between the time and the amount. You've got to pick, will you read 2 juz a day or will you read for 40 minutes? Because what happens when you've read for 40 minutes and you haven't finished your 2 juz, which takes priority? So you got to pick one. Are you going to go with your duration of reading, the time, or are you going to go with the amount? Your goal must pick one of them, okay? And you need to say when you will be doing that reading of Quran. You didn't mention that in your goal, okay? I will read Tafsir Sa'di. Is that the Somali way of writing Ain with C? I will read Tafsir Sa'di 10 minutes a day. When will you read it? And what surahs will you read the tafsir of? Okay, so we've got to get the specificity there. So again, just before we wrap up, I'm going to read out the format of how your goals should be written. They should be written out all in front of you. How many goals do you have? 3, 4, 6, 7, how many do you have? I read Quran, your action. I read Quran at time, put the time, at that time, for X amount of time, or for X amount of pages, for example. Yeah. So what do you do? When do you do it? How much do you do? That's the simple format. Okay, I will read a book on specifics of Salah after 11 p.m. for 15 minutes. That is excellent, except you've said a book, and that makes me think you don't know what book it is. So either straight after this live stream, you need to go and decide on what the book is, or you need to decide right now, or just write it right now if you know what the book will be. Okay, if you've polished all of your goals and they are, polished, you can see your reflection in them. They're nice, clean, squeaky, and you've written them all down and they're all in the format, then give me a number 3. Write number 3 in the chat. And if you still need to clarify and you've still got questions, also put that in the chat. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Kiraki labas. Comment ça va? You've got family in the chat. I will pray tahajjud at 3:30 a.m. I guess 3:30 a.m. for 4 rak'ah. Yeah, covers all the goals. The only thing you might want to be more precise on, like, where will you do it? Because sometimes you don't know. Do you have a bedroom on your own? You're going to do it there. Just make sure you got a place to do it. Other than that, it's fine. Maybe you want to think of what surahs will you read. Yeah, give me a 3 if you're solid, you're finished, you're ready to go. Tafhim as-Sunnah series for the Book of Prayer compiled by Muhammad. Very good. 3. Okay. Zainab, I don't know if you asked any questions. So can we just, everyone, Yani, benefit from one of your goals? Can you just put it in the chat? And we'll just make sure that it's fine and we can take it as an example of a good one as well. Okay. Is it smarter to work with time frames or with goals, like how many pages? Okay. I always say time. But for the sake of, because I want to finish the whole Quran in Ramadan, I don't do time for that. But usually it's time. Like outside of Ramadan, I say don't promise yourself you're going to read 10 pages. Promise yourself you're going to read 10 minutes. Yeah, so I always go with duration. However, in Ramadan, because we kind of want to finish the whole Quran in Ramadan, usually I say I go with pages. Okay, so that's what I do. Yes, Timma. It should go, like, the replay should be right there as a normal video on my channel after this stream is ended, I think. So yes. And yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now, probably in the next few minutes. So this will be recorded for you to go through the part that you need. Okay. C'est pas grave. Inshallah, vous allez bien. Ramadan Mubarak. Hey, I just came. How do you deal with your plan when you can't finish it? Time is so much less than what I expect it to be. Well, that's why you attend this workshop, because the workshop, it tells you firstly to specify what are your realistic timeframes for when you can do ibadah. You don't promise yourself, I'll do ibadah at a time when it's clashing with something else that you can't cancel. So first you want to be realistic with the timeframes, the times in your day that are always available for you to do ibadah. Then you want to select ibadah which you can realistically be consistent with, and then you slot them in. But what I would recommend if you just came is to just watch this video. Once we end the live stream, it should go up as a YouTube video, and I would watch it and I would go through it. I would get your pen and paper, and inshallah, you'll have some great goals. I'm memorizing Surah Yasin, 5 ayat daily after after Asr prayer. I would say that's a solid goal. It's a good example of a good goal. I'm memorizing Surah Yasin, 5 ayat a day. Yeah, it's fine. What if hurdles come in your way that stop us? I mean, firstly, that's why you need to pick times when you most likely will not be interrupted. And also, you need to pick a place to do it where you won't be interrupted. And you need to turn your notifications off so you will not be interrupted. Now, if you did all those things and your goals are pretty realistic, that you can be consistent with them, and you miss one day, so be it. You can maybe make it up in the last 10 days when you're going hard. Or it's just, ma'alish, it's not a big problem. It's not the end of the world. But that's why we plan to make things consistent. If I was going to do a live stream every day in this location, I know I would flop that because I know people are going to be using this room. It's not realistic. I'm going to be able to do that. Okay. So yeah, I would say if you've given me a 3, if you've given me examples of your goals and I've said that's a good goal and it's solid, then I would say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You could be on your way. If you still want clarification and questions, I'll be around. I'll be around for another 5 minutes. But I really would say, take time, get this right, and then you don't have to worry about it tomorrow and for the next 18 days. So yeah, what about sleep schedules? I mean, look, my sleep schedule is very flexible because of how I work. So I'm not the best example to go with because most people, they have very fixed or more rigid schedules. But what I would say, a little thing I would say is, if you have work or you have uni, you're coming home at 5, 6, 7, whatever PM, I would say take a little nap because I think that will help you for your ibadah either before Maghrib or after Maghrib until you go to bed. It'll give you that little boost. So you're going to have a little nap, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Depends how big your window is. Or take that nap. Then Maghrib's going to come. You're going to eat something light, not like hardly anything deep fried or nothing deep fried. You're going to have light meal, something pretty light, and then you're going to have energy. Then you might have an hour, 2 hours here to do some ibadah, right? And then you go to sleep. You're going to wake up for suhoor. If you give me more specifics, maybe I can help more. How to manage sleep? Yeah, I just gave an idea. Definitely be napping. Definitely, like I said, after Fajr for me is a good time to do stuff because I've just eaten. I tend to have good energy. My brain can work pretty hard at that time. That's why I work at that time after Fajr, and I also do one of my ibadahs after Fajr. So it's about knowing when you're likely to have higher energy and lower energy. Okay, we still got a lot of people on the stream. Does that mean you're not done? You're still polishing? Do you have any questions? I mean, you can ask me, now that we're at the end, you can ask me questions beyond just the plan. You can ask me about stuff like sleeping and eating and, about thinking. How do you deal with lower iman? I mean, for me, like this Ramadan, it's all about managing your iman and having it so your iman will go down. But when it goes down, there's a limit to how far it's going to go down. How do you create a limit of how far it can go down? Well, as far as I understand, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he said there are 2 ways to increase your iman. It's by doing extra worship on top of what Allah made mandatory upon you. Doing extra worship, even if it's little, and seeking knowledge of Allah and His Sharia and His Prophet and the Quran and all of that. So seek Islamic knowledge and do things that are sunnah, that are not mandatory, they're extra, even if they're little. Yeah, adwamuha wa in aqal. That is very general basic advice for having higher iman, I would say, and do it consistently for the whole year. That's the key thing. If the only way you're going to be consistent in reading Quran for the whole year is to read 1 page a day only, then read that 1 page daily. Do not read 2 pages. Don't do that. Be consistent. Okay. Yes, we got the batikh emoji. What would you say is better for suhoor? Scrambled eggs or wheat? I'm not sure, actually. I think it's equal. Because on one hand, you've got complex carbs, which take time to digest and release energy over time. On the other hand, you've got protein, which, as far as I know, it does take quite a long time to get digested. And it makes you feel quite satiated. But Weetabix, I would, porridge is better than Weetabix because it's not processed, and therefore I think it releases energy slower. Yeah. How do you make sure that the good habits you adopt Ramadan continue after Ramadan? Yeah, this is the key. This is the core reason we're doing this workshop, because you want to set yourself up and do the ibadah now that is realistic to continue after Ramadan. So, for example, Qiyam al-Layl. If your sleep is generally messed up, you're already struggling to sleep good hours outside Ramadan, then maybe it's not the right time now to implement Qiyam al-Layl in your life, like in Ramadan, and then try and do that after Ramadan as well. Instead, you want to, it depends on your level, but I would say pick the things to do, the ibadah you want to do in Ramadan, pick stuff that you're likely to continue, okay? At least, 2 or 3 of them that you're likely to continue. And then the level needs to be dropped for sure. So if your level in Ramadan is to read 20 pages a day, after Ramadan, drop it to 5 pages. And it's that transition, I think, as well. It's like you don't feel overwhelmed that you've got so much to keep up with and so much to read after Ramadan. That you're continuing, but you are dropping. You are dropping. And what I find to be realistic is if you're comfortably reading 5 pages of Quran every single day of your life, if you're comfortably doing 5 pages, it will take you years to reach 20 pages every single day of your life. It will take you years. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you drop a lot, you're dropping from 20 pages to 5 pages. But imagine in 1 year, get that up to 7 pages. In another year, get up to 9 pages. And, if Allah wills that you live long, you're going to reach the 20 pages. You're going to reach 30 pages a day, inshallah. But wallah, I put consistency over everything. Nothing beats consistency. So if I have to have a lower goal in order to be consistent, I will do that. How do you choose which surah to study? Well, if you're talking about tafsir, reading tafsir of a surah, then I would definitely start with the ones that I've memorized and the ones I use in my salah, because that will help you. Have better salah. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're reading. You're commuting. You're in the car. You're in the train. You're in the bus, and you're able to recite surah and know what it means. I know Ibn Abbas said this about this ayah, and the Prophet ﷺ said this ayah means this, and you know what I mean. Whereas if you haven't memorized it, it's good, of course. It will affect your heart deeply, but it's not quite the same level. So start with what you've memorized, and that's what I'm doing when it comes to tafsir, reading tafsir. Okay, everyone seems to have finished their goals. So everyone seems to have finished their goals. They polished their goals. And so we can wrap it up, unless there's question. I mean, I'm going to go for 2 more minutes. If there's no questions, I'll still be here for 2 more minutes, and then I'll wrap it up. If there's questions, we'll just keep going, I guess, obviously to a limit. For suhoor, interesting thing with suhoor is the hydration element. I think from what I know, a good way of getting hydration is not just to drink water, it's to eat fruits and vegetables that have liquids in them, because those, I believe they actually get deeper into your body in a sense, rather than going straight through your system. So eating fruits and vegetables with water in them is good for hydration, as well as, Allahu Alam, what I've heard from good sources that I trust is like putting salt in your water, only a pinch of salt, especially Himalayan salt, pink salt. It helps your body retain the water as well. So like guzzling water in suhoor, I find it just goes out. It doesn't help me too much, yeah. And then with suhoor, either you want slow releasing carbohydrates like porridge, like oats, or you want proteins, or both. Protein, like sugar, like anything sugar, like a carbohydrate that is easily absorbed into the body. I don't know if that's going to do you much good. Like beyond 2 hours after eating, I don't know, it's maybe all gone. My sister feels guilty studying for exams on Ramadan. I mean, I don't know, what would I actually say to that? My sister feels guilty studying. Um, I just think you got to do what you got to do. And like, I've got to work in Ramadan, okay? Most people that have a job or whatever, they've got to work in Ramadan. And I just think Ramadan, I try not to see it as this fantasy world that a lot of students maybe they go through, where they're like, yeah, uh, Ramadan's in the summer. A lot of people of this generation, Ramadan has been in the summer holiday for them. So they're chilling. They're able to do ibadah whenever they like. They could do a lot of ibadah. They can attend classes. But that's fantasy world. The real world of Ramadan is that it's your normal life plus a bit. Yeah, it's normal life plus a bit. So what is your normal life? It's exams, it's studying, it's going to work. And it's going to take a decent chunk. But it doesn't mean, this is a key thing, it doesn't mean you can't dedicate 1 to 3 hours a day purely to Allah. Obviously, on top of the fact that you're fasting, right? So don't focus on the time you're spending studying. Focus on the time you're free to not study. What are you doing with that? Are you making the most of it? That's actually what, yeah, that's my answer. That's what I would focus on. That's what I would focus on. What am I doing with the time I have? And if you're studying all day for your exams, I don't see that being actually effective. So remember, Allah gives you tawfiq in your exams anyway. So give Allah 1 hour, give Allah 2 hours, and Allah will help your memory and stuff in the exams. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll give you 1 minute to get any last questions in. And if I don't receive questions in the next 1 minute, I'll wrap it up, inshallah. It's been a great workshop, a great live stream, a great time again. And I'm just glad that I did it because it was, it's late, what is it? It's the 9th of Ramadan. It's the 9th going into the 10th of Ramadan. A lot of people will say, wow, if I don't have a plan now, I've flopped. But we're only 1/3 through. We got 2/3, not to mention in those 2/3 is the last 10 nights. So we still can have a great Ramadan, inshallah. So Amina, what we do is we do workshops. I do workshop every year, once a year usually. Other than that, on this channel, I do usually weekly videos. I usually do weekly podcasts on my podcast, Mind Heist Podcast. Mind Heist Podcast. I'm just typing it here for you, yeah? So on this channel, Mind Heist Podcast, that's where I put stuff out. But in terms of like live streaming stuff, usually it's just once a year. This is just something that I found that I kind of get right, and I'm confident that I can help people with, so I do it. But I'm not like an expert on everything and stuff, so I wouldn't really do a workshop on everything. Okay, so time's run out. I thank you all for coming. It's been great. And thanks everyone for all your interaction, all of your comments. We had good numbers, wallah. A good amount of people have left this webinar, left this, I'm calling it something different each time, left this workshop with a solid plan. May Allah accept from all of you. All of your intentions now that you've got this plan, you're going to go out and implement it consistently, not just Ramadan, but after that, you're going to downgrade, you're going to continue. May Allah accept. May Allah accept. May Allah accept that from you. May Allah give you thabat, give you steadfastness and strength to continue, be consistent, and to not feel down if you mess up, and just to keep it rolling and be consistent even if it's little. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah everyone.